Okay, I'm back. So I did a video earlier on using JSON to PlayMaker, and I thought, well, why not do a spreadsheet one? The video for JSON to PlayMaker, I don't know, I think I did quite well. I think a lot of people liked it. So I thought, well, okay, I'll do a spreadsheet one, because I think there's some people out there that like spreadsheets. And again, I should always check my volumes on, because God knows I've had that off a few times and had to redo videos. So I made a spreadsheet here, and it's got said things into it. Now, when you're done with whatever spreadsheet, you would export it or save it and download it as a .csv. So I've already done that, and then I just more or less dragged it in here, and I have this, and this is what it looks like in here right now. The spreadsheet, so everything gets separated by these columns or by the colons, and then there's a new line as well. So you have this weird crazy thing, this text thing coming down. So we want to get that into PlayMaker, and like I was playing with this to make sure, because it's a finicky weird thing. So I'll show you. Like I made one, and I'll remake it here. But if I hit play, as you can see, like it takes all my data and just populates into a scriptable object. You don't have to do a scriptable object. There's different ways you can do this. I'm using scriptable objects because they're relatively easy to work with. They're good data containers. So first thing I want to do is create a scriptable. So let's call this demo data spread. And we open that up. And this is very, very close to the JSON style. Right? There's going to be a lot of things that are the same. So it's a scriptable object. So we have to do this create asset menu, and the file name equals, we'll call this demo s, and the menu name equals, I don't know, we'll call it demo s with, or demos, there we go, and order number equals 0. Okay, so we can now create this thing. So just like the JSON, we need a system dot serializable if we want it to show up, but we need a public class, and we can call this I don't know, some AI. Sure. Now this is where you'd put down, say, like I want a public string. We're gonna have the AI name. We're gonna want a public. Actually, you know what? If you go with just name, in Unity, when it comes to lists, this will actually do something special if you call it name with a capital. And I'll show you that after. You don't have to do it, it's just a little bonus for you. So what else do we have? We have a public int. I think we had health, so we'll just call this one health. We had a public int experience, public int damage, and a public string spawn area. Bloop. So there's our little class we've made. And then just like the other system.serializable, And we need another public class. And we're going to call this all AI. And it is going to be some AI. Use those little guys. And we'll just call this AI. Alright, now, finally, we need a serialized field. Public all AI. AI list equals new all AI. There we go. That should be good. So we have, this is our class. So this is our thing, and this is what it contains. Then this is our, more or less, our class that we're going to use to search for, and it contains a whole bunch of these. And I always forget this, make sure this is public. Everything public, everything serializable. And then this is just saying that we need an instance of this thing. So let's save that. All right, so if we now create our demos, we can now see we have an AI list, and it's just a big empty list, right? Nothing to it. So we need to fill that, and we want to use PlayMaker to do this. So let's call this demo list, and we'll put this in spread. So we need a couple things. We now have our custom action. It is empty. It needs a public demo list. So this is our data. And it needs a public text asset. This is our spreadsheet. So, how do we get data from the spreadsheet into our data? Well, we need a integer, and this is how many, this is our column count. So you need well, no, it's not your column count. Well, you we'll call it total. So total equals, sorry, my daughter just gave me some cookies. So total equals the data dot what is that? All AI. Data dot data? No. Could have sworn there was an all AI there. Maybe it is data. Data dot data. Why is that not there? Some AI. Demo data spread. And demo. That's because I used the wrong one. That's, okay, I was wondering, like, what the hell? Where's my... So data dot all list dot AI dot length. Now, so, okay, very important when we look at our, where's our spreadsheet stuff? So if I look at this guy, when we need to break all these things up into strings, and it's really important to know how many columns you have, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But we also don't need this first row. We're not going to use that. So we need to divide that by 5 minus 1. So by the columns, the number of columns, and then we're going to take away that first row. Next, we need a string array. We'll just call this temp equals spreadsheet dot text. Now it's giving me an error because this is a string, but we're looking for a bunch of strings, right? So dot split. So we need to split. We're making a new string, and we need the separators are, we have commas, and we have, now make sure you do the right line like that. See how it turned purple for me? And I feel like I'm missing something there. I think this is supposed to be like that. And the options, no, it is supposed to have options. This isn't here. Oh no, this is supposed to be like one of these. That's what that is. We have to define more or less what we're separating the this string into. So we're using commas and new lines. Like I said, you got to really make sure to get this one the right way. If you go with that one, it's not going to work. So make sure it's that way. And just take a quick look at my other one real quick, because it's, yeah, it's just a comma. Okay. And then string split options. That's what I'm looking for. Dot none. All right. So there. So we're making a string, or like an array of string called temp, out of our spreadsheet text asset. So we have to call the split, where we make a new string array. We're using the commas and the new lines. Don't worry about this part, just put it to none. And that will give us a whole big list of strings. Now, how do we take this string array, stuff it in there? Well, it's really not that difficult. So int I equals 0. So we're going to do a little for loop, and I, as I is less than the data dot AI list dot AI dot length Okay, no, that's it. We have to put one more thing just before this. Data dot all this dot AI equals new that to be total. So we're making this array the total amount of what our temp string is, right? So we take a total and we say, okay, we're going to take all the words, and we're going to divide that by 5 minus 1, right? Because that's and then we have our string temp, and it's splitting. We make a list, and it's going to be, this one's going to be that size. This down here is data dot alllist dot AI in the bracket. So that's telling us that like element 1 of that list, like the first one of that list, and then as this thing loops through, we're going to keep going through that list using that I, because the I will go through every iteration of this. So that equals a new AI, because right now it's empty, there's nothing there, right? And then the other thing we need now is data dot AI list dot AI, that same guy, dot name equals temp. Now this is a string array. Now this is where you kind of, oh, where'd my string array go? Right, so the first one's going to be technically goblin, right? So this one we're excluding, but we don't want this one, and then this one, like goblin, and then we do kind of, these ones will go in, but then like the next iteration of the array, we want to skip down to here, right? And arrays typically you run right through. So it's going to equal to temp. Now what part of the temp do we want? We want the we want the column count. So there's 5 times I plus 1 plus 1. And it would help if I spelled temp right. So you got a little bit of math in there, right? So we're just saying that the name is at this stage in that list. It's 5 times the iteration plus 1 plus 1. But that also means that data dot AI list dot AI I dot health equals the same thing, but the next one. Now we have an error, right? Because this is an integer, this is a string. So we need to int dot parse, and we're just going to unwrap that whole thing, and now we have that. All right, so I'm going to copy that because I know the next 2 I have are also integers. So it's, this one's not health, this one is experience, this one is damage, and the last one is a string, so that is dot spawn area. Right, so if this is the name and that's the health, obviously this one's that, and that. just like that. And I think that is all we need to do. Even though I feel like I'm missing something. So I'm going to get rid of that one, and we just did alright, where is it? Is that the same one? No, demo list. Right, so that's the one we just made. So here we have demo, or demos, and we have our this guy. So if I hit play now, oh, we have an error right off the bat. So let's take a look. So data.ai equals total. Alright, I'm going to take a look at this one real quick, because he was the same thing. So we have column count was 10th dot length. Yeah, okay, that's, you know what, I almost thought about that, and I was thinking, like, that's kind of weird. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is the string then. The strings first. This guy is going to be temp, oh Jesus, temp.length. There we go, that should make a little more sense. So we build the string, we have this big massive array. Now we need to know how many of these things we want to do. So we take this thing, we subtract the first row from it, divide it by 5. I knew I was missing something. There was something there that just didn't quite feel right. Alright, so it's trying to fill, and now it has. Let's see. What did we do here? All right, so let's take these away. I might have to do, maybe it was that way. 5, because 5 times I, if you were in the first iteration, you'd be at 0 plus 1. You should be at 5. I probably should have cleared that thing though. It's trying to compile and hit play like way too soon. Let's see what happens. Oh, I wonder if I froze Unity. Maybe I did. Okay, I'll pause it real quick and I'll reboot my Unity. I think I just froze it. Okay, so sorry about that. Okay, so before, I just looked at this real briefly. There's one thing here, of course, that I had kind of messed up. So we have, when we do our loop, and you guys might have even caught this as I did it. So we have, our iteration doesn't need to be this length. That's wrong. It actually just needs to be the total, if I could spell right. Whoops, I probably should have kept the other part of that. That's okay. All right, because that's how many times we actually want to iterate. So we have our total big massive string that we've split using those. We take that, we divide it by the number of columns. We're taking out that first row If you don't have the first row, then don't add this little piece. And then we're telling our Scriptable object, okay, we're making a new list, and the size of your list needs to be this size. And then we're going to go through the list in the Scriptable object saying, okay, you are a new player. This is your stuff. Okay, clear as mud. And of course I didn't save the scene, so I lost my empty game object. So we have Spreadsheet. So we have our demos. Oh, I grabbed the wrong one. Where is it? Demo list. That's ours. Not this one. That was the one I was playing with before. So there's those. Right, so this guy, we are going to look at him. He's size 0. I hit play. And I don't need maximize view. But there it is. We have all that stuff right from him. Okay, so let's just quickly take a look at that code just so you guys are clear. So once we take that file, when it comes in as one big massive string. We smash it up according to, which is why it has to be that CSV, because that's how CSV works. It breaks it up with the columns and new lines. So that's what we're using to break it all up. However many columns we have, that's what we want as the amount of total units we want, right? And then we're going to go through and I'm iterating the column count times our iteration I plus 1, and then we do the same thing, but now we're doing the next one in the list. So this one's a little different. I plus 1 plus 1, I plus 1 plus 2, I plus 1 plus 3, I plus 1 plus 4. So it works like that. Now we have that. What if we want a system where we can get data and actually use it? Well, let's take a quick look. Should be pretty easy. So we have a public demo data spreadsheet. So we have our data from our Scriptable object. And we're going to want a public, say, FSM string, something to search for, and you know, maybe FSM int, we'll say the returned health, public FSM int, the EXP, public FSM int, the damage, and public FSM string, spawn area. Okay, so what do? We take the search, so we need now to do a for loop, int I, or you can use any letter, it really doesn't matter for those, equals 0, I less than data dot AI list dot AI dot length for however many of those things we have. I plus plus. So Okay, we need an integer here. Search value equals, we'll use some stupid number. I don't know why I deleted one. That was totally ridiculous of me. So if data dot AI list dot AI dot I, our current iteration, if the name equals search dot value, then search value equals I. That's it. So now if if search value equals, two equal signs, this same number, then nothing was found. So we can fire off an event or something. Else we want health.value to be equal to data.AIList.AI search value dot health. And I'm just going to duplicate this a few times. So exp dot value can be the same thing, only now obviously not health, but exp. And damage can now be damage. And what else? Spawn area. Dot spawn area. And I guess really don't need the name because that's what we're doing the search for. And you can always add it in, I guess. Right? So there we have that. So let's test that. So now we have fetch. So we need the same data. So now everything's going to be case sensitive, right? So say I want to look for ghost. I want ghost stats, right? And you could plug these in. I mean, technically don't need to use variables here, but I will anyways, just for the giggles of it. Right? So let's go like this. I'm going to clear that. We hit play. It loads. Okay, cool. Now what if he was to run? Right? Now I take that and go, bloop. I can now see I have a ghost. Its health is 50, EXP is 60, damage is 9, it spawns in the graveyard. Right? Now that's totally right. Ghost, 50, 60, 9, graveyard. Right? Ghost, 50, 60, 9, graveyard. Right? So I could also do troll. And there we have the troll stats, right? I can do broken because I put myself in there. Why not? You know, and I can see that. So there you have. Now we have a spreadsheet coming in. It's feeding into a scriptable object. So we have a nice little data container. These things, you can make these things as big as you possibly want. But we use them mainly, well, it would be like your base data, right? So now you have, then you'd have something like this saying, okay, put this on an AI, and he gets all the base info. or whatever. I mean, you could use this for anything. Equipment, armor, shops, whatever. You could do these till the cows come home. But anyways, I thought I would share that with you. Catch you guys in the next video.